Jim, let's kick this off with the big merger news this morning. Now, Brian Moynihan called this. Well, he didn't call this merger in particular, but he said that he expected the banking sector to consolidate.
Well, they have to. I mean, Brian has spent a tremendous amount of money becoming technologically the best, most proficient. I mean, I have an account pretty much with every bank, but they do a fantastic job. And when you look at SunTrust trying to keep up, it would be BB&T trying to keep up with that tech spend. It's too hard. When you have that overlap, brick and mortar is really kind of a liability these days. They can cut that out. There's just a lot of raw personnel costs that banks have and compliance costs that can be cut out. It's remarkable. It's accretive. It's fantastic. It's the only good thing happening today.
And BB&T and SunTrust merging will make them the 6th largest bank in the U.S.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think that we kind of felt that bank mergers were over because there was such concentration of deposits in the country.
The last one was in 2012.
Right, and yet, frankly, the last one, First Niagara, Kia, it didn't work that much. I like Key. I think Key 4%. We owned it. We sold it much higher for Action Alert. But let me just explain to people that if you look at what Bank of America has done with this, okay, you cannot keep up. You cannot spend enough money to stay with them. The technology became the gating factor for banks. And there are 5,000 banks in this country. 5,000. There's 4 banks in the United Kingdom. I mean, we have way too many banks. And we should see a huge wave of mergers. Now, I was speculating about Goldman. Goldman's below book. And anything they do is going to be positive. Should Goldman merge with U.S. Bank? When you look at Marcus, Goldman's owned by Action Alert. When you look at Marcus, that's their retail bank. They're doing their absolute best to try to get deposits. They're growing like mad. If you want to get deposits, go buy U.S. Bancorp, for heaven's sake. So it is a very positive development. It's remarkable how additive it is. When you see 2 stocks go up when they're in a deal, that's very, very positive. So expect more deals, but don't go crazy today. We have a down day. Wait 2 days, and then do the buying and buy Key.
Let's talk about the down day, because Twitter announced earnings this morning. They disappointed.
Well, Twitter is an interesting case. They gave you more information, and the information was poorly received. They don't have the growth in daily average users that people have. But I would tell you that 30 out of 38 of the Super Bowl advertisers were on Twitter. That if you want to launch something new, you do it on Twitter. Twitter may not be the most sustainable place to advertise, but it's a good place to advertise. And it's in the mix. Like Snap's in the mix. Yesterday we saw that Snap's not going under. Snap has better growth. But, so what you do is you have this pastiche of Facebook, you have Twitter, you have Alphabet. But in terms of social, Facebook, Twitter, Snap, there's not enough of them. So they're a must-buy is what we would call it. So I'm not backing away. I think that I've been recommending Twitter ever since Anthony Noto came aboard. Now Anthony's left. He's at SoFi, and I always said that when Snap was considerably higher than Twitter, that you should short Snap and go long Twitter. It was one of my best calls. And I'm not backing away from Twitter. I think this one has to settle. There'll be some number cuts tomorrow. Maybe it goes to 27, 28. Twitter is going to be hard-pressed to stay independent if it keeps going down.
The last time I cared about Nokia was back when I had a flip phone.
Yep.
And you said that for the first time since the 90s...
Well, when you have a government-mandated, worldwide edict not to use Huawei. I mean, Huawei is the cheapest and in many ways, some people consider the best. But I had Bob Herzvik, I had Mr. Herzvik on, who's just a remarkable guy. He's a Shark Tank guy. And he advises big companies about cybersecurity. And he said, you really can't use Huawei. Huawei is very likely it could be spying. Now, they'd be spying for the government, or they might be spying for the military. We don't know. But the idea, he said, that you would let Huawei in as part of a telco equipment, because they're a little bit cheaper than Nokia or Ericsson, is just plain foolish. And I think that people have woken up to the fact that it's not that hard to get the European governments to say, you know what, you got to buy European. They're protectionist as it is. And Nokia's a little bit cheaper, and it's down a little bit more. You could buy the basket of Ericsson and Nokia. I want everyone, people have to understand, watch this video. I don't know, I mean, frankly, we don't have a lot of data about who you are, as opposed to Facebook. But stock of the day is Nokia. And if you want to learn why you should buy a $6 stock, read the stock of the day. Every day we do a a full-on SWAT team of one stock. And our Nokia coverage is extraordinary today. I want you to know why you're buying Nokia before you do it, so read Stock of the Day.
And you can find Stock of the Day coverage on realmoney.com.
Yeah, and we also have Bruce Kamich did a chart on it that I linked on Twitter if you want to go that way into Real Money.
Okay, let's talk about Chipotle. Now, speaking of real money, I think that this is the perfect segue because you wrote about Chipotle over on your Real Money column.
It's interesting. By the way, I can't get anyone to say the following, but I own Bar San Miguel, which is my small plate Mexican restaurant in Brooklyn. And look, Mexican food, it is just on fire. I mean, you know, I was like shocked when I came by the restaurant on Saturday at midnight. And it was like hard to get into. It's a late night place for younger people like Mexican, and you can get it, and you can get it vegetarian. That's why Chipotle does well. You can get it fresh, hot, terrific. Goes with all sorts of different. Goes with beer. I mentioned that because Chipotle had 6% same-store sales, which is remarkable. But Taco Bell at 6% same-store sales. It is the hot cuisine, is what I'm saying. I cannot get anyone to say that. Pizza, by the way, is a declining category.
I was about to ask you about your interview with the CEO of Yum Brands.
Look, I think Greg is terrific. I was shocked that people hated that stock so much. I would have, if I were head general manager, I would have come in and bought it because it was an extraordinary quarter. He's got great growth. It's fantastically stable. They stabilized Pizza Hut. KFC's got good growth, and Taco Bell's amazing. So that stock's terrific. Chipotle, they bought back 4 million shares in the last 5 years. It's not a big cat. It only has 27 million shares. Brian Nickel is a miracle worker. They got throughput fixed with a second line, doing drive-through, doing Affinity. So many reasons to own that stock. Please don't sell it if you own it. Please don't.
All right, so
that's my real money piece. If you want to have all the data, I have it. You know, I spend hours on these pieces. So please go there.
All right, we got to go to Action Alerts Plus because I want to talk to you about
I just want to understand, there are two components of today's market. There's earnings, of which they aren't big cap that are bad, okay? It's Grubhub that's bad.
Yeah.
And Grubhub is bad, it's Twitter that's bad, and there's kind of a Tapestry is bad. So there's just kind of like overall, the numbers aren't that good. And then there's the fact that we're down off of Europe, and that's a mistake. They have bad growth. They have no growth. They're declining in some places. We have great growth. So if you're selling us off of Europe because we have bad growth, we have great growth. And State of the Union, true, we have great growth. I also want to point out, I have a place in Italy. Yeah, I talk about it. Well, when my father passed away, my mom's favorite, she died so long ago, but her favorite city was Florence. And he said, look, for inheritance, with the kids, grand generations skip trust. But he said, why don't you go buy a house in Italy? And so I know about Italy. She goes, your mom loved it, you loved it, you went on your honeymoon there. Go do that for me. Stop just hoarding the money and go buy. I sent my wife, Lisa, she just loves real estate, she works as a broker at Corcoran. And I said, just go to Italy. And, she went 5 times and she found a place outside of Florence, about 40 minutes. And I said, well, let's get a mortgage. They don't have a mortgage market there. Okay, so does it really matter how low the rates are? The banks, the work rules, the inefficiencies, the intrusive government, it is impossible. And believe me, the tariffs, like the president is dead right. Dan D'Amico's dead right. Like the tariff on a Deere tractor is ridiculous. The notion of doing business in Europe would shock most people. So I just want people to know that when you hear all these correspondents come on and talk about the Feds, that the central bank's out of bullets, all this is nonsense, okay? That's the kind of stuff that reporters, that people who've never bought anything, I am a small business person in Italy who would like to be a bigger business person in Italy, and I can't. The work rules just won't let me. So just keep in mind, when you hear about these stories of, wow, the ECB's out of bullets, it's about work rules, it's about protectionism, it's about inefficient banks, and it's about cultural aversion to working as many hours. And it's such a shame because the workforce is amazing, the people are incredible, the government not so good.
All right,
the government's not as good as its people. And in Italy, I mean, I got to tell you, the people that work with me are so amazing. But and the government wants to do what's right, but the notion of a free market just doesn't exist there. And that's what's really going on in Europe and Germany. They've got a lot of work rules that are just, Germany's good place to work, but there Germany won't borrow, they won't borrow. The government won't. They should be doing gigantic works progress things, but they won't do it. So you really have to understand it's the governments. It's the governments that are doing things wrong, not the people, and not the central bank.
All right, we're going to head over to Real Money to talk more about the markets and all things about the portfolio.
I'm a big believer in Italy, and it's in recession, and things are very inexpensive there, and the dollar's very strong. So if people wanted to have, I'm just a proselytizer for Italy. I will tell you that buying an unbelievable place in Italy is a fraction of what it costs to buy a nice place in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is no Italy. I know Italy.
All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.